share, yeah. Oh, I started recording. All right. Man, so often it feels difficult to stay within the present moment. And I think this is why meditation is such a useful tool, because being in the present moment allows us to choose our words, our actions consciously. Being outside of the present moment is where fear exists, right? Because you're either thinking back into the present or back into the past, or you're thinking forward into the present, the what ifs or could haves or should haves. So that is where fear exists. But staying within the present moment is what actually keeps us grounded and conscious, so that we are being active participants in our lives. 101. So for me, I recently shared a song on here. And in that song, I talked about the journey bringing me back to me. And what I mean by that is that I've been on this journey, spiritual journey, path, self-discovery, evolution, consciousness, whatever you want to call it. To me, it's like it's raising my conscious awareness. It's a form of evolution. And for me, it brought me back to myself by showing me that I'm already a whole person, incorporating all aspects of myself, incorporating those dark aspects that we would deem negative, or that we might shun, or guilt, or maybe feel some sort of like guilt. I already said guilt. That we would shun or guilt or shame ourselves for feeling or experiencing or for coming up. Right? Especially, and the reason that happens, those feelings arise, is because we haven't acknowledged that that's a natural part of what it means to be a human, is we get to experience the full range and spectrum of emotions. But when we deny that, they control us, right? Like for example, if you feel jealousy come up, and you don't acknowledge that you could be a jealous person, that that's just normal, what then happens is that jealousy controls you, and it kind of just dictates how you are responding in a situation, right? So does that make sense? So it's like, instead of just like seeing the jealousy and being like, oh, I'm feeling jealousy, like, and just being like, okay, and like maybe being like, that just shows that I care about this person. Or maybe there's something deeper that you need to look at. Maybe you have some trust issues. You know what I'm saying? Maybe there's something there. But also, it's still going to come up. Even if you don't have trust issues, even if you're working through things, like, jealousy will still come up in different ways, shapes, and forms, I think. Yeah, because it's just part of being human. It's a human emotion. Maybe it'll eventually go away. I don't really know. But if you don't acknowledge it, then it controls you. And then that can be disastrous to relationships, right? But if you just acknowledge it and be like, I don't like this feeling, and just let it go, okay. But it's when we fail to acknowledge that we have certain characteristics, certain traits, emotions that are going to come up within us, that they then control us. And I've talked about this a lot on this channel. There are different shadow aspects I've mentioned on here that I've incorporated. And the most recent one was really just, I guess I would call it like the narcissistic aspect of ourselves. And you might be like, I'm not narcissistic. Like, bitch. You might not be, but you have that within you. We all do. We all do. And it's when we don't acknowledge that it starts to control us. To the point where, in my case, because I really didn't want to acknowledge it, and because I was utilizing substances, alcohol and smoking, unconsciously numbing that so that I didn't have to address it and face it head on, that my understanding in this moment in time, because again, this is my raw journey, this is a raw truth, this is just me going through this as I go through it all. I might have already stated this, but I'm going to state it again. Because I didn't want to acknowledge it, my psyche, mental health comes into play here. My psyche was beginning to try to split as soon as I stopped numbing. Because it wanted the acknowledgement, and I didn't want to acknowledge it. I was shaming and guilting that part of me. And my psyche was literally beginning to split. 1 + 1 is 2. 1 + 1 is 2. That's you. That's what my last video stated. Go back and watch that one. Because at the end of the day, we have a balance within us, and that balance needs to be balanced out. Whoa. And this is where what Jung would call the anima animus, what like I would call the masculine feminine. It's like, it doesn't really matter what word to use to describe it. At the end of the day, we have these two different aspects within us, and they both need to be acknowledged and balanced out to become a whole, which Jung would call individuation. This is a process I have personally, I'm like tempted to say, have gone through at this point and have overcome. I feel like I've become a whole version of myself because I'm no longer denying that I have all these parts within me, right? I have, and it's all parts, right? That I have anxiety, that I can like display anxious behaviors, that I can be an angry person, that I can have like these thoughts of like judging others. But it's like the whole point is to not identify with those things in terms of like being you entirely, like not like, because you need to integrate them, right? And like just acknowledge that you have that, but then you're not shaming or guilting yourself for feeling those emotions, for having those thoughts come up. Because if you do that, then you allow that to be who you are, whether good or bad, whether you're someone who like makes fun of people all the time and you think it's cool, and you're just like, that's just like, you know what I'm saying? You're allowing that to dictate your personality and who you are. Or if you're someone who's more like me and I'm just like, I don't like that. I don't like making fun of people. I don't like judging people consciously. And so I shame that side. And so when it does come up, I feel bad. And it's just like, and then I'm shaming and guilting myself for feeling it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it goes both directions. But at the end of the day, it's like you are two halves of one whole. And you're meant to experience the full spectrum of everything. And if we're judging someone else, we're literally judging ourselves. If you're judging someone else, there's a part or an aspect of yourself that you have not incorporated. Right? We project out as well. If we really don't like people who are judgmental, we're going to judge people who are judgmental even harsher, because we're not acknowledging that we also have the potential to be judgmental. Does that make sense? So it's like, if you find yourself judging anybody else, you are judging yourself, and there's a part of you that you have not incorporated. There's a part of you that you really do not want to look at. And like the other thing have found helpful in my own life and like in my own practices, like when it comes to me feeling some sort of anxiety or whatever, if I feel like I'm being judged, it's like I go back into my mind and I'm like, wait a second. If they're judging me, it's because they're judging themselves. There's a part of them they don't want to see. So it's like this roundabout like thing that we play, that we get stuck in when we need to be stepping outside and standing over here, so that we can look at the situation for what it actually is. Because if we get to a point where we do that, what that really is just like you're learning to love, and incorporate and accept all parts of yourself. and that's okay. And once you do that, it's like you have a choice. You realize that you have a choice. You realize that you get to choose how you want to show up in each and every moment and each and every day of your life. Like, do you want to be the person? Like, you can choose evil. Sure, if evil, right? Excuse me. You can choose that if you want. That's up to you. It's a choice. It's part of who you are. If you want to choose it, choose it. But you also have a choice. You need to remember that. Because when it comes to being here and having this privilege to just exist and to like all the things that we take for granted too, is just like, you know, there's so many things we don't think about and there's so many things we don't recognize, and it's because we're too busy like projecting our internal world outside of us. There's things within us we do not want to recognize. Like just the things such as just like simple things, right? Like gratitude lists are so beautiful. Fingers, toes, mobility, a home. Like, sure, my world's been turned upside down recently and I thought I was going to be moving. I'm not moving. I'm staying exactly where I'm at. But like, it's just, I could be like bitching and moaning and complaining and be like, oh my God, like, but it's just like, where does that get me? What does that do for me? It's like, just because you pour stress into something, it doesn't change the situation. You know, stress needs to be utilized as in a productive manner, if anything. If you're going to feel stress, allow that stress to motivate you to do something differently, to move differently. And a huge thing for me is like, I don't even know where this is going, but I'm just sharing with you guys now at this point. I had been tying, and this is like shadows that I hadn't acknowledged, and this is what kind of got incorporated for me. But I had been tying my worth to the kind of job I was going to have. I was tying my worth to my ability to figure it all out. I was tying like basically this need to prove myself, right? And like I went from being operating in like this range, right? This half where it's like I'm just very logical, analytical, doing things by the book, only doing things that make sense, to like dropping that and just completely going into the other side, into what I would call like the feminine energy, where it's just like creativity, flow, intuition, just like doing things in the moment and thinking that this is just gonna like provide and do everything and everything's gonna come together. But what I was doing is I was putting so much into this that I was not willing to acknowledge this. This being that it's like, hey, you need to go back to work right now. You don't have a source of income. Like, you're relying on like this to just come through and happen. But because you're relying on this, you're forcing it, you're making it so that it's like, if you don't get this, then you're not worthy. Does that make sense? So it's like, I didn't want to go back to work and get a job because to me, that was going to say that I failed. To me, that was going to say that I didn't make it. To me, I was tying my worth to that and caring what other people were going to think if I had to go back to work and had to get a job. But it's like, at the end of the day, like, we want to bridge the gap here. You want to put both things together and find that balance. And it's like, sure, you'll go a little more this way sometimes, you'll go a little more this way sometimes. But it's like, we need to find that balance in order to live a life that we love, right? And it's like, at this point for me, it's like, I finally have made this connection. And I'm like, oh, wait, like, yeah, what am I doing? Like, of course, like, I don't have a source of income right now. Like, I don't want to rely on people to keep like helping me out. That's not okay. Because what that does is that's not an equal give and take, right? And so I finally made this realization. It's like, yeah, I'm going to go back to work and I'm going to continue leaning in and working on the things that I'm working on and the things that I'm focusing on. and like getting myself to where I want to go. But it's like I don't need to abandon this entirely in order to get to where I'm going. You know what I'm saying? It's about finding a healthy balance. And then probably, I don't know how good of a job I'm doing at explaining this because this is like, but the balance is necessary. If we're not tying our worth, like that's why I left in the first place, I think. Like I felt my intuition calling me to leave. But I don't know if that was necessarily my intuition or my ego at this point. And if it was my intuition, I truly don't believe we can make mistakes. That's just my line of thinking. I don't think you can ever make a mistake. I think we learn lessons. I guess you can make a mistake if you don't learn the lesson, but I don't see anything as a mistake. I see it as leading us to exactly where we need to go. Everything that I've learned about myself and everything that I've undergone and overcome and like lifted the veil on, and especially the larger experiences I've had in the last 3 months, it's just been like, wow. Wow. And it's shown me so many different layers and levels to myself, to the world, to other people. And I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't change it for the world. Because it's brought me to where I am today. It's given me the awareness that I have today. It's led me to incorporating all parts of myself and not seeing any part of myself as good or bad. It just is. And then I get to choose. Right? I get to choose to lead with love. I get to choose to not take on other people's emotions. I get to choose to allow others to teach themselves. And I get to choose to set my boundaries. I get to choose how I want to show up. I get to choose how I let other people treat me. Right? And I can choose how I just want to show up in every day and every moment. Like for me, I don't know if I've mentioned this on here before, but for me, like in the past, because I've been a major people pleaser growing up, right? It's just always been my role is to help and take care of others. And it's like, I think one of the things I've been struggling with lately is like realizing it's like I do want to help people in some sort of way, shape, or form, but it's not really help them. It's more like guidance, and it's only those who want it, those who want to come to me, whether it's being on this channel and watching these videos, or whether it's like, I don't know, friends asking me for advice explicitly, right? But it's like I get to choose how to show up. I get to choose how I want to show up for myself in those situations, right? I get to choose the groups I surround myself with. Because at the end of the day, like, your energy is still a thing. Everything's vibrational. And so it's like, I don't want to be surrounding myself with groups and people in a close, intimate manner if I don't feel like those relationships are conducive to, like, if I'm just not getting anything out of them. And before, I used to think that that was a selfish thought, but it's really not. It's about setting boundaries, not walls. Boundaries, not walls. And so it's like, I'm still here and have love for anybody and everybody that I've like cut ties with. And I think for me, it's just been about like, at that time, it's just like, I really could not handle being around certain energies because it was pulling me back into an old mentality or mindset. Like I was seeing myself, old versions of myself in other individuals in different ways. And because I was not at a point where I was fully incorporating both sides of myself, I still felt that need to like speak up. I still felt that need to say something. I still felt that need to basically like help and fix, right? Which then drains me. And because I also couldn't, like, my energy, I would absorb their energy. I was still feeling guilt, for not helping them or for whatever it might be. But it's like at the end of the day, people need to help themselves. If people are asking explicitly for advice, you can give it to them. Or it's like, or like if I would say something and then people would slough it off, I would kind of like let that hit me. Be like, okay, like whatever. But it's like now I just see, it's just like, we are who we are. We're going to take the advice we want to take. We're going to disregard things we're not ready to hear. And that's all okay. But like for me as an empath, it's been, and that's such an interesting term because I don't exactly know how to conceptualize that term yet. But for me, it's like, okay, I don't have to put up walls. I can simply have boundaries. I don't have to want to go hang out with people all the time. I need to pour from a full cup, right? So it's like, I don't need to cut anyone off really, unless they're like totally negative and toxic. But it's like, I don't really need to cut anyone off. I can just say, I don't want to hang out. Say, I'm not ready to hang out. I don't have the energy. And just like even within the confines of those relationships, if things feel off, or if I'm feeling like just speaking my truth and not biting my tongue. Because I think that's what a lot of it comes down to too, as like a people pleaser, is you don't want to upset someone by speaking your mind. And I think a lot of people are going to see that I've changed and that I'm not someone who cares to try to pat people's egos. Because that's what it is at the end of the day. Is we're like upholding one another's egos is what a people pleaser does. Right? You try to like agree with them with everything. You're agreeable. You try to like make them feel better. Make sure they're feeling heard and understood. And I'm like, but you know, you could look at it this way. And like, you know, but it's just like, just be you. Just say what you want to say. Do what you want to do. People will accept you for who you are if they're growth oriented. If they're not, then they're going to walk away from you anyways. And they're not going to want to hang out with you anyways. Because you're going to make them uncomfortable and face parts of themselves they don't want to. So at the end of the day, you lose nothing by just being fully who you are. Saying what you want to say, saying how you feel. And again, you can lead with love. You get to choose. Doesn't mean you have to be an asshole to people, but you also don't have to say and do things you don't want to, right? In these little tiny nuanced ways too. Like I don't say I'm going to hang out with anybody these days if I don't want to, but, well, that's actually a lie. The other day I did go do something that I didn't really want to. I was feeling tired, but like, you know, they were really pushing hard and trying to convince me. And so I was just like, fuck it. All right, whatever, let's go. And it was quick and it was short and it was like an interesting experience, but like I really didn't want to go out there. I was feeling tired. I had just gone through this like process of individuation where it's like I finally was realizing, hey, you don't have to put a smile on every time you're walking by somebody. You don't have to wave and say hello to every single person, because before when I would do that, now you can want to, that's totally fine. That's the choice, right? But for me before, it didn't feel like I had a choice. It felt like I had to do those things, because if I didn't, I was shaming myself. I was guilting myself. I was saying that like, I have to do this because I have to be the light. I have to hold the light. And it's like, that's a big, and that's exhausting. That's draining if you feel like you have to do something. But knowing you get to choose and knowing that you don't have to feel bad if you don't, it creates a totally different environment and context for how you show up in the world. Excuse me. And I think for me personally, oh my gosh. Sorry guys, I'm just like not comfortable. And for me personally, I think like I've been leaning a little more into that lately, just because I've been someone for so long who has felt like I didn't have a choice. And so I feel like I've kind of like dipping more into like that neutrality. But I think I'm at a point where it's like I'm starting to see that it's like, okay, I know I don't have to, but I kind of want to. Because at the end of the day, like, you're me, I'm you. I watched this cute old lady yesterday. She's like 96 years old. She kept saying, same, different. Because that's what we are. We're the same, but we're different. I'm just a different expression of source. You're a different expression of source. Just like these plants are different expressions of source. This carpet, this cup. Same, different. And with people, it's really beautiful because we get to like, learn about other people's lives, which is kind of like it's learning about other aspects of our lives that we've lived, if that makes sense. This is getting a little too esoterical. I feel like if you're here, you'll understand. And it's like, this is all soul level stuff anyway. So it's like, I know your souls will resonate with what I'm saying because it's truth. I've seen it. I've experienced it. It is truth. Like, we are all one and the same, but different. Same, different. And I think oftentimes we try to like rush through our lives, trying to reach some goal, when the only goal that we're supposed to be reaching is just like loving life, experiencing it, joy, following your greatest excitement and joy. Like, what do you truly want out of this life? What do you want to do? What are you excited about? What are you passionate about? Do that. One step at a time. That's how the universe works. It will open up for you if you take each little step that you have available to you. So know what you want and then just start stepping towards that little by little. And like, go as far as you can one way, right? And then go as far as you can the other way. And like, things will keep presenting themselves to you. Because at the end of the day, like, people want to use the term like spiritual. To me, spirituality, just to define it, is like it encompasses anything and everything, science included. Okay. And so to me, like, science really is at the basis of all this, right? Because you can think about the fact that everything is energy, right? And it's like, I don't know everything when it comes to like science hardly over here, but it's just like quantum mechanics, quantum physics. I don't know, y'all know, but it's just like all these different concepts and ideas, and it's really interesting. Laws of attraction. And I think an important thing is to practice non-attachment too, right? Because if you are so highly attached to something, like you need it to happen, like there's no balance there, right? You have to, because life is like this. It's like a roller coaster. There's an ebb and a flow. You can't get too attached to the highs, and you can't get too attached to the lows either. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck in a rut one way or the other. And I think I got attached to the high there for a minute. And I kept trying to push and like figure it out. But I wasn't like figuring it out because I'm wasn't really in touch with like what I am, I don't know, my highest excitement. Because my highest excitement is like, I want to help. This is my thing, because my thing is general, right? Like, I just want to help guide folks to home to themselves. Yeah, that's really what it comes down to. And then I want love, a family. I want to grow my own food and make my own medicine. Like, those are my highest excitements right there. And it's simple, right? Simple. And so the things that I could be doing, this is an example, right? And it's like I started some of these things, but then I kind of got like sucked into these other routes, and like they're all kind of connected at the same time. But it's like I easily, right, continue working on making myself acquainted and aware of different types of herbs and which ones I want to like incorporate in my practice, because there's so many. I'm not going to use everything, right? Continue making my list. Write down what kind of tinctures I want, like specifics, like government law. There's just so many different avenues and ways, right? Like, the universe will support you and present you with opportunities and like the next steps, but you have to take the first steps. Because when you think about it, like, how many of us actually try to get what we want in life, right? I gotta switch again. Right, like, how many of us actually try? Like, it's so easy to talk and to complain. And this is where it's like, there's also like people want to bring politics in. It's just like, I don't, nope. I can understand and see both sides. But it's like, if you don't actually try and start taking those steps and believe, right? This is where shadow work comes in, I feel like, because you have to undo some of those old systems and like beliefs and ways of like thinking. Because if you don't actually think that you can, like at your core, you're like lying to, like, you're telling yourself this isn't going to happen and you can't do it. Like, you're probably not going to try, even if you don't even feel like it's possible for you, for one. But if you, let's say you do try, but you're also like, still, but like, this isn't going to work. How's this? Like, I'm not going to get in. Like, you're that's what you're telling yourself. Like, manifestation, right? So you're not going to pull it in if you don't actually think you're going to pull it in. But at the end of the day, there's so many of us that like have all these hopes and ideas and dreams and things we want, but then it's like, but we don't even take the first step or the second step, right? There's so many different steps you could take to get this thing done. And I think a lot of that's too is because we can feel overwhelmed. My advice there is to make a list, right? Law school. Let's say you want to get into law school. You have no idea. You have no one in your family who's gone to law school. You have no idea what you want to study, what you want to do. Start making a list. All right, what's that look like? Law school. All right, I need to apply to law schools. I need to research law schools. I need to take the LSAT. I need to see about studying for the LSAT. I need to see when the tests are. I need to see what admissions deadlines are, right? And like, just write down everything that goes into it. Then from there, reorganize that list. Like, okay, what steps? What are the steps? Which order does this go in? Start with step 1. Funding, money. You need to figure out grants and loans. Throw that on your list, right? And then just reorganize that list so that you have the steps that are going to take to make that dream come true, to get you into law school. You can do that with anything that you want. Make a list, throw it all out, put with everything that needs to go into that. Now take that list, rearrange it. What's the first step? Start there. And some people might be like, they can't take certain first steps. There's always a first step. There's always a first step. You don't need to have funding for something in order to start creating it, right? Like me with my plant like my medicinal garden, and like how I want to grow everything, and like I'm really into like teas and tinctures, and I want to make salves. It's just like, I can just start educating myself on these things. I can start learning this information. How do you make a salve? What is a decoction? What is a tincture? How long do those have to sit? What are the bases for these things? What kind of different oils are there? Right? I could start looking into all of this. Like, okay, now I have this basic function. What kind of herbs do I want to have in my apothecary? What do I want my main ones to be? Okay, now let me get acquainted with those. You know what I'm saying? There's always a step. It's like, sure, I don't have a yard yet. I don't have a house. I don't have like the funding for that yet. But it's like, that's down the road. Stop thinking so far ahead. Just do what's in front of you right now, right now, right? Always comes back to the now moment. What can you do right now? And we take these steps, and the universe will support us. And if you guys continue to watch this channel, you will see that, because I guarantee you that is going to happen for me. I am going to get exactly what I desire, because I know it's possible, because I know the universe will back it, because I know what I want. I want this channel to kind of blow up. And I want that because I know it's going to, I know what I'm saying can help people, right? Especially my latter videos, the ones where when I first started to sit down and just start talking, because what I was going through at that time was like a lot of like everything I'm talking about, and like the culmination of where I've gotten right now. It's just these revelations, these downloads, these channels, whatever you want to call them, that have come through to me. And I'm just like, wow, I need to go share this, because this is revolutionary. Like, this is cornerstone of this healing journey, whatever, ways of thoughts and viewing things. So stick around if you want to see, because I promise you, my life is going to transform, probably in ways that I can't even imagine. I feel like there's more to my story than I even recognize or realize. And again, practicing non-attachment, because at the end of the day, like, life is beautiful no matter what. No matter what. We just get to experience and play and be here, and like, this is the only time we get to do this, is while we're here on earth. Experience the full spectrum of emotions, to experience everything we get to experience. You know? And it's like, people might think it's a blip. If you really think about it, it's a blip. Even if you live to be 110, which is like not common. It's still a blip. 110 years. And you're off the earth. You don't get to, you know, have your extremities and your limbs, and at least in this way, this connection, all the emotions, not just the good ones. You get to experience the good ones. Again, I don't like good and bad, because it's like the bad ones are really like our greatest teachers at the end of the day, right? They inform us of ourselves. Again, going back to jealousy, it's just like, what is that showing you about yourself? That you really care about another person? Maybe you have some insecurities. Maybe you put your worth in something. You know what I'm saying? Like, it informs you. But it doesn't always have to be negative, right? It doesn't always mean that you have something to work through. I think it's just about acknowledging that it's a part of us and not allowing it to control us. But if it's not going to control us, then we have to acknowledge it's there and just a part of us. Otherwise, it just takes over. And a lot of this is like psychology. But it's like psychology in the Carl Jung sense. Like, Carl Jung, I'm telling you guys, like, everything that I've ever posted on this channel, I think there's only been like 2 or 3 videos about Carl Jung. But like, those videos that I've shared, I'm watching those videos and I'm like, oh my God, because it's like, I've literally, every single thing he's stated, it's just like, I've experienced and thought of myself through my spiritual experiences that I've gone through, and like the work that I've been doing on myself. And that's without studying Carl Jung. And so it's just such a beautiful thing. Like, the shadow does need to be incorporated. And I think that's why within like religion, like, people talk about, like, especially people that have done like spirituality and then gone back to religion, they talk about like this fear
and like that's there, and like these negative whatever, you know what I'm talking about. And it's like I think that's there though, because they're facing that parts of themselves. They're being shown parts of themselves so that they can incorporate them, so that they cannot reject them, so that they can see that they get a choice, even though both are there, that they get to choose. And that's scary. It can be terrifying. You know, it really can. Like there was some times where I was just like, oh my god. And it was really funny as I realized how many times throughout the day I told my partner the other day, like we either say God, like oh my god, or Jesus. Like constantly. We were watching a movie actually, and they said Jesus 3 times within like, I don't know, like a minute. uh yeah. And I'm not saying you have to like trash religion at all. Like quite the contrary, honestly. I honestly believe that there are bits and pieces of truth in every single religion out there. I mean, I haven't looked at any of them in depth. The most I've gone is like within the Bible when I was like young, but it's like I don't really remember. And like the things I've looked up recently regarding just like some very basic things around Jesus, because like of the experience I had, and like his energy force coming to me and kind of like walking me through some things and showing me where I was kind of choosing the dark unconsciously because I didn't want to acknowledge it. His energy force. And even when I say these things, it's like I know that I don't fully understand it. I know that I don't necessarily think that he was a yeah, I don't know. Because anything that we read in a book can be interpreted in so many different ways, right? And that's one of the reasons I think I don't necessarily like engaging with things in that manner, because I don't want something outside of myself to allow me to be swayed in a way that's like based on someone else's interpretation of something, right? Because it's like people can read the same page and get 3 different conclusions from that. And one of those is going to be what's preached in like church. And then people will just say, okay, you know? And it makes sense. And all 3 of them can make sense, right? But it's about, I think this is why like I like spirituality, because it's anything and everything. So it can incorporate religion in so many different ways. Like you can see Jesus as a literal figure. You can see Jesus as an energy. You can see it as, you know what I'm saying? There's just all these different ways to view things. Which is why I think I've just always just identified as spiritual, because I'm like, I don't want any boxes. I don't want any hard lines and rules. Like that boxes us in, and that boxes our thinking in. And I'm not saying you can't experience like the same things, because at the end of the day, if it's about following our greatest joy and love, and like what excites us and expands us, like you can find that in religion for sure. You can go chase whatever you're passionate about and be religious. Will everybody do that? No. But can you do that? Can religion teach you how to just love yourself? I think so. I think so. But I'm not so sure that it teaches you how to incorporate and accept all parts of yourself. I feel like it almost says, like, but I feel like that's almost the same. Because if you're feeling those things, right? We all feel those things. But like I said, I wouldn't know, because I've never if there are like Christians on here or Buddhists or whatever other religions, please comment and let me know. Like, I want to know how you feel about when you feel feelings of jealousy or rage, or I'm like trying to think. I've incorporated so many shadows. I'm like, what are they? Just when you feel any sort of what you would deem a negative trait or emotion, how do you deal with that? What's your perception of that? Do you just acknowledge it and let it go? Like, how do you, yeah, I'm curious. And do you ever see a place for those emotions to be valid? Like, is there a place for them? All right. That's all I have. What is this? Yeah, 46 minutes. Am I going to post this? I don't know. Why not? Oh, God. See? There's a blood moon tomorrow, you guys. Very excited. I don't know why. I just feel excited. Full lunar eclipse. I got a strong connection with that moon. That part, not entirely sure why, but I know that ain't a lie. I love rhyming. Okay. I love you guys so much. If you guys made it to the end of this video, please comment a little plant emoji, because I love plants and we're all growing. All right. I love you guys so much. I hope you're having a great day, evening, afternoon, morning, whenever it is you found this message, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.